car fans, welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Raul, and I wanted to show you some tips and tricks and things that I use to help when I mock up a project, especially a big kit bashing project like this one. Even though it's halfway through and a lot of the stuff is fitted, I wanted to show you some of the steps that I take and what I do to get this thing together and find some fitting issues. Now, as you know, this is an MPC 72 Charger body, and I've been kit bashing it and modifying it with the AMT engine compartment. So that's the AMT engine compartment, the MPC interior tub, and the AMT chassis. So a couple of things, and you'll be taking, if you're doing a project like this, you'll be taking it apart and putting it together many times. So this has been an on-again, off-again project for me, but reinvigorated for you guys. But I figured I would show you some of the steps when you get to a point like this where everything's fitting, and then I decided that I'm going to use these bazooka exhaust tips here. And so I took my Dremel out, and if you can see that right there, I actually notched the panel to make sure that these now clear and look proper. So here I'll mock these up. So I'm going to talk about, you know, all kinds of things that you end up doing. So you can see they're recessed in there a little bit and line up pretty good, but you got to put it together, mocking it up to find out where they go, and then line up the front here and move it back again forward, push it down to see where exactly they are and how far out they're going to stick out. Don't have enough fingers, but that's okay. But I've now notched those and sanded those, so these now clear. But that's just one of the little details. But this thing's been in and out multiple times. Well, actually, we'll leave that in there for now, because the next step is making sure the motor clears, and that's what I'm getting to at this point. Some of my mock-ups, like here's my motor. I got the AMT 440 engine glued together for the most part. I didn't put the oil pan on, don't really need to for this step, because it mounts in the cradle right here, and right here, so that when it's sitting here, sure, I can't get it lined up right now while I'm filming. There we go. So it's sitting in there, so that already tells me the height and everything. But as I shown, the 446 pack intake from Fireball Model Works is much wider. So here I've tacked the heads on with super glue, see where it is, and then I showed that, you know, there's a bit of a height difference here and a width difference. So to mock it up to see if anything's going to fit or clear, I take your normal modeling clay, which I have a big bag of.
Hi there, Dad.
Hi, Ryan.
So what are you doing?
Oh, I'm filming right here. You want to watch?
Oh, sure.
You want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, everybody.
That's Ryan. But I take my modeling clay here, and I'll take a little piece of it, and I will, so dab it, get it ready, and just stick it to see. That's epoxy putty.
I can't hear so inside.
Yeah. So I'll take my modeling clay, and then I'll take the heads and intake, and we'll just squish it down.
Can I do show YouTube?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. So there's the modeling clay. Pushed it out, but that gives me an idea where it's going to be. Okay, so there I put the modeling clay in there, and it's now filled the gaps. Now the clay, it has a little bit of oils in it or whatnot, but it's great for mocking it up like this because it will hold the parts kind of like glue and give you an idea how everything's going to fit. So you can do this and get an idea. And then I actually like using this stuff. To me, epoxy putty. It's a two-part epoxy putty you mix up, and just like the clay, you mix it up and you can stick it on, trim off the excess or whatever you don't need, and it'll harden and it's pretty much glued in place and it's paintable. But for mock-up, I just use regular clay. This stuff works great. However, it's not really available in the United States because I've had to order this stuff out of Japan, and I'm sure it's because packaging, they don't have all the disclaimers on here for US marketing, I'm sure. Although they do have it on here. Keep out of reach of small children. Children must not be allowed to suck any part or pull vinyl bag over the head. Make sure to put rubber gloves, etc. on before use. Wash hands with soap after use. Use only for modeling. Avoid direct sunlight and store in a cool place. So it's kind of funny. That's the only thing in English, but it is kind of on there. But I like, if you see how small this box is, the plastic bag's inside, really, really small. But we'll get to that here in a little bit, because I use this stuff to fill in gaps and fill stuff like this, but it's perfect for something like this. You could use the liquid putty, but I tend to like using that because it's much thicker. But for now, I'm mocking it up. So I'm using the clay here. So in this, let's get kind of get the body or the engine in there a little bit. But this I got to tuck under the front valance. Get that in place. Okay, that's now in place, and it's in the located pins right here and up under the body, and then the engine's in place. So now you can see how far down that is and get an idea. Now here's the Johan air cleaner. Now I removed the mounting right there because it was for dual quads. So I removed all that with my Dremel, just ground them all out to give myself a little bit more room, because I still have to make room for the carburetors. And I really don't know how much room I've got. So take another piece of the clay, and I'll just make somewhat of a ball of it. We'll put it right on top of the carburetors. And we'll just set that, and obviously that's too high, but it gets you an idea, and then give you an idea. Oh, and I used it on the bottom side of the hood to locate the air grabber, just to give myself an idea where it would be, and I can slide and move this around because the clay is holding it, but it's not glued in place. But I'll put that down. You can see it's way too high, but it's clay, so you just push it down. See, the air cleaner is resting on the top of the hood, on the bottom of the hood I mean. And now I'll take the hood back off, and pop that, here we go. Pop that back in, pop that back in. Let's put it back in place. See, lots of fitting, lots of mocking up. But there we go. If you can see under there, see the plenty of clearance. Looks like the valve cover should clear. Valve covers aren't very tall. But I'll also sand the air box, make it a little thinner, and move it up just a little bit to the hood. Right now it's just not even modified, it's as cast. Yeah, there you go, you can see the air grabber air cleaner and how much room it has, and it's pushed up. So that gives me an idea of what I can do. So I think there's plenty of room in there for the carburetors. The carburetors are kind of tall, but it looks like everything on this is going to fit if I mock it up just right and do it that way. So at this point it's kind of set. What I'll do is I'll mix up some of the epoxy putty, and then I'll clean the engine. Well, let's take this back apart. Just pop this out. So there you can see how high the air cleaner actually is. So I got plenty of room, I believe, for the carburetors. So I'll get it all mocked up. and I'll mix up the epoxy putty and get all of this glued down and ready to go. And we should see where the exhaust and everything goes, but might have to extend the pipes just a hair, may not have to. But I'm pretty happy with the way that's fitting, and it looks like it's going to be good. So let's just put that anywhere. And then some of the last things, just to show you, I'm going to talk about putting this thing together and taking it apart multiple times. There we go. Some of the clearancing I had to do to the interior tub, so to fit, it fits the body of course, but this floor and this floor really not compatible. So as you can see, if you can see in the video, I ground some right here on both sides, and I also ground the tunnel thinner all right in here. That way these two can sit flush. Alright, so now it's not rocking. It was pushing it up, but on the bottom side you can see I've ground and cleared all of this and was getting it going. And as you can see right there, I burned a small hole right in through the carpet, right by the console there. I was using my Dremel, but that's an easy fix as well, and I will use the epoxy putty there too. So I'll just stick a small piece in there and then push the two together, because if you can see right there, there's a small amount of room, so the epoxy putty will fill that in, and then I can push it with my finger and shape it, or even use a toothpick, push it down, use a toothpick, push it down, and get it to harden, and it'll fill that hole, and the epoxy putty will do all of that. So that will be my next step. Hi Ryan. And so I'll do that up, and
Mommy, please.
yeah, so I will do that and show you that. Well, alright, I'm going to take my epoxy putty. Here's the two parts, and I'll cut just a couple of strips, and I got to mix it. It's 1:1 ratio, so just the same amount of each, and you mix it up and it gets going there. So we'll get this cut, and I just cut it with a pair of scissors. That's all I do. Watch it go flying. Sometimes getting this stuff off of here is a pain, but here we go. Alright. This takes a little while, of course, but okay, so it's starting to get there. Okay, so I got it all mixed up. Took a small piece. So first we'll fix this. So we'll just stick it right here. Alright, so you can see, and then squish it down in place. See it pop out right there? And it sticks, so unstick it. Yeah. I'll just put some saliva right there. Kind of helps it unstick or not stick, so I can put it there. There we go. Let me take the razor, trim off that. So you can pat it down. And I'll pretty much dry and spot. It was that easy. Let that harden, and that filled in the hole. So set that down. As a matter of fact, I'll set this down. And then the other portion, we'll just roll it. So we'll squish it under the heads. There we go. Now let's make sure, get it orientated front. There's the Edelbrock, there's the choke, so that's forward. of the motor, and then squish it down in place. Alright, so there. And then now I'll just take my razor and cut the excess putty that I don't need that's visible. So you see them. This stuff's real easy to work while it's still in putty state. Alright, and then just start patting it down. So there you go, you can see the putty in there. You can let that fill in. Touch it up with any kind of super glue or regular putty to fill in any of the areas that you need to fill in. I just use a toothpick to push it down a little better. And then this stuff is sandable too when it's all said and done. Which I tend to not sand it, I just work it this way. There we go. So we will let that harden and you will see the result of that, but let's trim a little bit more off of here. I'll just put some more back in there because I took, I think, a little too much out. Even though that's pretty much going to be hidden under the distributor anyway. But there we go. Alright, and when you're viewing the engine from up top and the manifold and stuff, that'll be really hard to see, but you can see it right now. So we'll let that harden, and then we'll let this area harden as well. And that's how I fill some of those little areas where I messed that up, and then epoxy putty to build that up. So that's this stuff right here. It's like I said, I've had to order this out of Japan and wait for it to ship. So it takes me a while to get some of this stuff, but I usually order 3 or 4 boxes. I think I have 4 boxes right now, which is plenty. I mean, you see how much I used, and I've had this a while, and it lasts. So, but I'll put it back in its packages here. Okay, well, now that I got that all set up, I'm going to let it harden on those 2 parts, and I'll be working on a few other things. Mainly pull the carburetors. So I'm going to remove the carburetors from these blocks, so that's going to take me a little bit, but figure out how I'm going to do that. But I'll get these carburetors removed. That way I can mock them up on a thing. And I also tacked the air cleaner base to the lid to help me mock that stuff up, because I may have to clearance a little bit inside here and make sure everything still fits. But that way you guys get an idea of how I use modeling clay. I have a whole bunch from actually resin casting, but it doesn't take much to use it when you're using it to mock up build like this using the epoxy putty. I got a little bead here so I can see when it hardens and I can start working on some more, but it'll probably have to sit for 24 hours. So I'll let it sit, let it harden, work on a couple other little things, and that way you guys have an idea on how I use simple modeling clay to help me mock things up and to find clearances, because you can use this to find out where things are tight also, like I kind of did with filling the hole that I ground in my interior tub, which as you saw was a real simple fix. Tidbits on how to use this stuff. So I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching, and I hope these tips help you in your modeling adventures. And thanks for tuning in and subscribing and hitting that share button. I really appreciate it. And you guys, you have a wonderful day.